welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here, and as always, I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to highlight a wonderful theater that's based in Brantford, Connecticut. It's called the Legacy Theater, and Keely Bateson-Knudsen, who's the co-founder and artistic director, is my guest today. And Keely, welcome back. So nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's wonderful to see you as always.
It's wonderful to see you too, and I know my audience will love to get to know you once again. What I like to do in the beginning, which you may remember vaguely, is to get to know the guest and introduce them to the viewer. So why don't you take a moment and tell us about yourself? Take us into your background.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, of all places, and I ended up going northeast to go to NYU for my undergraduate training, Tisch School of the Arts. I got my BFA in acting. And then I went to the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama in Glasgow in Scotland, which was great fun, and got my master's there. And I went on a couple of tours doing musical theater and solo pieces. And then I ended up having the opportunity to kind of settle wherever I wanted to once I had my little slush fund, and had in my travels felt like Connecticut was the perfect spot because, as you know, it's so beautiful and so full of great culture and wonderful theaters. More theaters per capita, I believe, than any other state in our wonderful nation. So it felt like the right place, and it was close enough to New York City and also equidistant to Boston. And I just really felt magnetized to this area. So I set up shop in Connecticut as an educator on the collegiate level and director and choreographer. Worked with the Elm Shakespeare Company as a performer and a choreographer and their director of education for about a decade or more. And also worked with Cornerstone Productions, which was musical theater company that would tour to casinos all throughout the Northeast and tour throughout there. And then I still had my paws in New York City and doing work there as well. So it became a nice area for me to kind of expand in teaching theater and doing theater and creating theater. And so back in 2011 now, which just gets further and further away, I decided to start my own theater company. And so that's when Legacy Theater was born, was the concept of that, the idea of that was born in 2011. And through Cornerstone Productions, that musical theater touring company headed by Carl Gasteyer and Hunter Charno, I met Stephanie Stiefel-Williams as a co-performer, and she has ended up being my co-founder of Legacy Theater, and she's now serving as the chair of the board of trustees, and I'm the artistic director. And we spent quite a lot of time fundraising and discovering what we needed to do in order to have another theater company in Connecticut, if it was even feasible, and then space, how we'd find the space. So we were able to, in the process of all of it, save the Stony Creek Puppet House Theater and use that venue as the Legacy Theater. And it has since been completely redone. It's just like a brand new theater inside, but retains the historic exterior and then also its own legacy of the performing arts venue that it had been since the 20s and before. So that's me in a nutshell. I have 5 children, and the oldest is just graduating high school. So, things are shifting, which is just part of the process, graduating to the next phase for her life and for our family dynamic, which is interesting. But that's what brings me to Connecticut and doing theater in this area.
Now, you're mentioning a very fascinating journey to get to this point. Did you come to a point during all the things that you had done that you wanted to start a theater company?
Yes, I think that the main reason for starting a theater company was to be able to be in control of the types of plays and musicals that that I was involved in. I loved Shakespeare, and I loved all of the productions that we did with Cornerstone Productions. But there was a part of me that really felt like I wanted to be able to create pieces of theater that were really, ones that spoke to me, into my heart and soul, and wanted to put up on stage for any myriad reasons. And then also write as well. So having this theater company has allowed me the opportunity to do that, and to grow, the staff and the different opportunities that we have, and how we're touching the community in a variety of ways. So really, through my teaching and through performing with those different companies, the revelation started to come that this was something that I wanted to do. As my next step was to become an artistic director of a company that I would be the founder or co-founder of, and just take creativity to that next level for myself and see how I could affect audiences.
And I think that what's fascinating is, as artistic director and co-founder, and all your responsibilities, is that you also perform. Is that still part of your life?
Yes, very much. Last season, I performed so much that I gave myself a little bit of a break. I was counting it up, and since 2021 alone, I have directed personally more than 20 productions and written several productions and musicals. And so there, we're now in season 4, and we've come to a point where we're so grateful to have, visiting artists come in and direct, and world premieres from other writers that are, wonderful. And that is, that's a wonderful and very rewarding and very educational experience for me as well. So it's been interesting how this season I've been a little bit more hands-off in regards to being on stage, or even directing some of the pieces. I finished directing The Diaries of Adam and Eve, Mark Twain's piece. It was so fun and so beautiful and so fulfilling. And then I've recently given up the reins so that another director could step in, and it just so happens that that director is Julie Andrews. And so when that opportunity came to us to produce her, production of The Great American Mousical that she co-wrote with her daughter, Emma, and had been done at the Goodspeed Opera House some 12 years ago, and just kind of reimagine it, get some orchestrations in there, and make it, fit our stage in its unique way. It's been a really exciting experience. So I'll be back on stage in the fall and in the winter time, and then we've got some things in the works for next season, where a dear friend of mine is looking to direct something that he said is conditional upon my being in it. So, so I find my way up there often enough.
And I think the audience will say, but Deborah, you missed something. You have a very full family life and a very full theater life. How do you juggle both?
They are so sweet. They are so kind to allow me to do all the things that I do, and their voices are very much a part of everything I do. Sometimes literally, sometimes I did a production a year or two ago of The Tales of Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh that was an adaptation, an original adaptation, and Brad Ross composed the music for that. But one of my daughters had composed, I guess, she created this song with her brother, and they were singing it one evening, and I was like, oh, I love that, that's great. So with her permission, I was able to modify it a little bit, take it to the composer and say, this is from my daughter and my son's creation, can we insert this in some way? And then also, they've all been involved, all 5 of them, in one way or another. At one point, I had them all on stage before we opened the theater when we did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We had, a smattering of Knuts and children there. And then behind the scenes, they've worked. One of my daughters does concessions as often as she can. Another one has done a lot of behind the scenes set work, crew work, I should say. And then I've had Emery on stage as Tiny Tim for as long as she was tiny. And then now that she's not tiny anymore, she's kind of moved along in the cast. But she and Liviana and Winter, last season, Winter was also also in A Christmas Carol. So, they're very patient with me. I don't know that any of them had aspired to be on stage before I kind of, said, why don't you come on with Mom? But I'm in those productions as well when I can be. So I find it, absolutely dreamy.
Now, the audience may also not know that there is a theater in Brantford by the name of the Legacy Theater. Why don't you tell us how that came about? Tell us about the theater. What does it look like? What's the exterior like? How are you getting along with the people? Now, it's in Stony Creek, Brantford. How are you getting along with the town?
Oh, so beautifully. It was scary, I think, for the neighbors who had lived, it's very much a neighborhood, and there's a theater, a historic theater right in the midst of it. And I think it was probably very daunting to think that this was going to be revived and that once again they would have traffic and patrons and sidewalks filled with audiences and just the general hubbub that comes with a community gathering place, and also a little trepidation on what types of programming is there going to be, and will it be something that's appropriate? What kind of crowds is this new organization going to be drawing? So at first it was just, we had to kind of build trust and just hope that they believed us, that we were, class act, and we were going to do these, draw a nice crowd, not a threatening one. We've certainly, I believe, proven ourselves, and our neighbors couldn't be nicer. We've had even people who were very much against it are now faithful audience members and even apologetic and so grateful. They're just so grateful to have us. It's the ultimate turnaround story, and we had hoped that would be the case. And now that we're just in our fourth season, and already we've been able to provide the type of programming that would gain and garner their respect is great. And I love the partnership aspects too. We have Stony Creek Day is an annual tradition, and so is the Stony Creek Christmas pageant, which is such a cool tradition that's been going on for a very long time. And for Legacy Theater to be able to be involved in those as a participating partner and just a fellow neighbor, I think is very meaningful, especially given our past and how it was very much a divisive topic when we were first purchasing the building. So we've come a long way. The theater, you asked what it looks like. The theater itself is we have about 128 seats or so, give or take, depending on how we modify the audience. We have a pit in there that's being used, for instance, for the Great American Mousical. We have a lovely orchestra pit where musicians are in it. If we don't need the pit, we can put 2 rows of seats in there as well. And so it's a very versatile space, even though it's very intimate. And back in the day, in the 20s and 30s, there were iconic people like Orson Welles coming to do, with his Mercury Players, coming to do theater, and Joseph Cotton and William Gillette. So it's got its own wonderful thespian ghosts that kind of imbibe the structure with a sense of purpose and meaning and longevity. Which is very fun. But it's a beautiful, everyone who comes in thinks it's gorgeous. If they haven't seen the theater before, they think it's beautiful. But if they've come when it was the Stony Creek Puppet House or a different iteration, they're just blown away by the transformation, because we had very talented architects and builders come in and re-envision the space, build seats over the box office, so it's got this really lovely kind of textured ceiling as you come in. People talk about that new smell. I call it the new theater smell. They come in the building, and beautiful new, seats. Everything is new. All of the technical instruments, all of the seating, the lobby, the paint, everything is new. So it's really an unusual and beautiful venue that is not only historic, but also brand new. So it's fun to have that dichotomy. And we also, because we were building during the pandemic, our HVAC system is the cleanest air you could hope for as far as recycled air. And then we've also got accessibility, which is unusual for an historic theater, especially where you have wheelchair accessibility up to even the tech booth. So somebody that's differently abled could be up there and not have any problems getting to the space or operating the space. And also our stage is level with the lobby floor. So somebody who is using a wheelchair would be able to just get on stage without any kind of ramp needing to be brought in or a structure not already supporting that. So It's a really beautiful space. And we have, not only do we have our professional main stage productions, we also have a robust family series and also a really cool Sunday Broadway concert series. That is the coolest, I think, to see in our small, intimate space, because you really feel like you're sharing this, living room, beautiful living room, with a Broadway star who's telling their own experiences of being, in these iconic shows, and then singing the songs for you. It's such a special treat. All of it is such a special treat.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we continue to talk about the Legacy Theater, which is based in Brantford, Connecticut. And Keely, two things I want to talk about is the calendar and the website. So why don't we talk with the calendar? What does 2024, the rest of 2024 look like, and have you thought about 2025?
Yes, well, one of my most prized possessions of our main stage season is the world premiere. And we're going to have a world premiere production that gets a full 15-show run coming up called Love Affair. It's a brand new musical, but it's based on the film An Affair to Remember. So, that's been done a couple of times, and is such an iconic film that people just love. And it's been made into a musical by Joseph Simeone and some co-writers, and it is such a great piece. And I'm so excited to kind of birth it in our theater and see it come to life from the page to now a full-fledged musical. So your audiences can be some of the very first audiences to witness this musical that will surely have a life beyond Legacy Theater. But if you want to be among the first to see it and to be in the same room where the creatives made it what it was, then come see it. That is opening, let me see on my cheat sheet here. That's opening August 8th through the 25th. So we have the Great American Mousical, which I was talking about, that Julie Andrews is directing along with the celebrity choreographer Christopher Gattelli. He is so talented, and they're a terrific team. But that, fortunately and unfortunately, is a sold-out run. I don't think we have any seats left, unless it's maybe one here or there. But it's that's opens this weekend and plays for 3 weeks, and we're very excited to see that come to life and have our excited audiences. We also have Dinos in the Creek, which the Stony Creek Museum and the Legacy Theater are working together to create this kind of visitation of a dinosaur expert and a little show that goes along with it. So that's part of our family series, along with Cardboard Explosion and the Carrot Salesman that Brad sure does, which will be great fun. We have our camp coming up. It's actually a long day intensive for 5 days called Rising Stars, which is going to be great fun. Sweet Dreams, a bedtime story, comes to life. Chelsea Dacey wrote that piece, and I threw a couple songs in there as well, but it's going to be a really fun, brand new premiere of a family series piece that's coming up in August. And then our fourth and final main stage production is Dracula, a comedy of terrors, not a comedy of errors from Shakespeare, but definitely a play on that. And if you had a chance to see it off Broadway last year, it was a scream, literally. So funny, such a farce. Steve Rosen and his co-writer created this piece that is just ridiculous and wonderful. And if audiences who came to see The Play That Goes Wrong last season, that type of audience that went crazy for that will go crazy for this. So we're excited to have Jim Andriossi out to direct Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors. And then we'll have our Independent Film Festival again, which kind of changes gears, and that's in late September. So if you enjoy seeing new films and shorts and documentaries and new feature lengths, that might be something that your audiences may want to come and view. Or if they're a filmmaker themselves and would love to submit, we are still taking submissions. So all of that is on our website, which is legacytheaterct.org, and we spell it, the British spelling, THEATRE, CT for Connecticut.org. Oh, thank you. You're putting it on the screen, which is so kind of you. And then we're going to do, again, our wonderful Christmas Carol, which is a legacy original. David Bell and I wrote the music to that, and I had adapted it. I changed the timeline a little bit to put more focus on the relationship that Ebenezer had with his betrothed that went sour, to kind of stake my claim that I feel that was one of the motivating factors to kind of turn him even more into the stench and the gripe that he became. And to prove that love and community really are what heals the soul, and makes somebody likable at the end of the day. So we have that one coming up again, and we do have one more Broadway concert. That is Howard McGillen, who everybody loves Howard McGillen. He's going to be here October 6th. So that takes us into the fall, and to wind up our season. It's so crazy how quickly our seasons go. And yes, I am working on 2025. I've been working on it constantly. It's always on my mind. We have a puzzle that I like to have a classic piece, a brand new world premiere, as I mentioned, something dramatic, something comedic, so I said world premiere. I don't know if I said classic musical and straight play. Those are the only other differences. So I have to cram those elements into 4 main stage productions. And I feel like if I do that, then I have properly kind of educated our audiences and entertained them and enlightened them in some way, which is, a good part of our mission. So, that's been the puzzle I've been working on. And then once, I have these pieces in mind, it's a challenge of getting the rights to do them. The rights would line up with our particular dates. So we have our calendar dates now. I'm just trying to plug everything in, but it's a very exciting process and one that I absolutely adore. So that's us in a nutshell.
As we are starting to run out of time, I don't want to forget about the website, which we've talked a little bit about. What will the viewer find when they go to it?
Just about everything. And if you can't find something on it, please let us know, because we'd like to include the kitchen sink as well. You'll learn about us, about the team. There's a bio for all of the staff members, my wonderful managing director, Jeff Provost, and his background, all of our backgrounds. You'll learn about the internship program. You'll learn about a new initiative that we've come up with that's called the Legacy Conservatory. And aside from our year-round classes for all ages, we also are starting this new initiative where it's competitive and by audition, but if somebody, up to 16 slots, if somebody gets admitted into the Legacy Conservatory, and it's for almost all ages, then they're required to take 5 classes that I feel make a well-rounded artist. Between January and May that Legacy provides. And then once that time period is over, if they graduate with honors, then they're allowed to be what's called a Legacy Apprentice. So they will be guaranteed either a place on stage or behind the scenes within the upcoming season. So that's a new initiative that you can learn about. You can learn about artist residencies. We have the George Victor Artist Cottage, which is right next to the theater. And if you're a writer and you want to retreat, you can apply to be an artist resident. You'll learn about those classes. You'll learn about who's coming in our Broadway series. If we're hiring, if there's any jobs that you would like that are theater related, we almost always have a need for something. You'll learn about our volunteer options. We have a robust over 75 volunteers for ushers and our societies. You'll learn how to give. We have the annual giving society for a level of $1,000 or more. You can learn how you could have a naming opportunity if you'd like to name a seat or name the lobby or our courtyard or that type of thing. So there's just so much to learn. You'll learn about the history of our theater. There's some videos on there that are informative. You'll get to see good pictures of the inside and the outside, and you'll also see all of our playbills digitally from once we opened. So if you're interested in cast of characters or who played what or what shows we did, it's all on there.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. We have run out of time.
Well, thank you so much for having me again, and I look forward to next time.
Great. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You have been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in. I'll see you next time.